75% of our clients that graduate our program are clean and sober 1 year later. That's a really great testimony for what we do. And you've got it right here in Henderson. We're going to love you back to life. I'm not going to love you to death. I'm going to love you back to life.
Welcome to the For Henderson Podcast, where we share stories of the people in our community who are helping build a great city and showing us every day that they are for Henderson. Welcome back to the For Henderson Podcast. Today we are here with Carrie Gentry. Carrie, just go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, I'm Carrie Gentry and live here in Henderson. And we have 6 kids, my husband Colin and I do, and wow. I am the Director of Community Addiction Awareness and Education at Warm Recovery, but my office is actually at the Recovery Resource Club of Henderson over on First Street.
Okay, that was a mouthful.
That was.
Say that all again, slow enough that I can grasp it.
But you can grasp it. I am the Director of Community Addiction Awareness and Education for Warm Recovery. My office is at the Recovery Resource Club of Henderson, but I'm also I'm the director of the Stop Initiative through Warm, and I can break all that down for you.
Yeah. So you and I have had the privilege of working together in the past on some other random things before the For Henderson podcast, and I'm really fascinated by your. So let me throw you this one. Where your office is at the clubhouse, I never knew that place existed.
Oh, it's so great.
Until you and I did some other projects together. And I think that's such a cool community resource that maybe flies under the radar that people aren't aware of. Can you share just a little bit more about it?
Absolutely. So the Recovery Resource Club of Henderson, it's in the old, what was the United Church of Christ on First Street. And so it looks like a church from the outside. And about 4 years ago, the church was dissolving, and they donated the property. There's a home on the property. There used to be SNPs, and then there's the church. So it's a block basically from Ingram on First, and they donated it to Warm, and they transformed it into the Recovery Resource Club of Henderson. With Dale Seitz kind of spearheading that, and his wife Margaret Ann, they redecorated it. It's such a beautiful space.
It really is.
And it's what it is designed to do. It's designed to be a true clubhouse for people in recovery. But you and I both know this, that if people that are not in recovery come in there, we're ready to serve them as well, because everyone is touched by addiction and in the recovery community. And so my job is to help reduce stigma, invite everyone into that space so that they can see it's such a place for healing, and it's a really great place for resources for just about anyone in our area.
Yeah, that's really cool. And you have programs for not just for people in recovery, but family members and loved ones and things like that. Is that true?
Oh yeah, we so there's meetings every day of the week. So 7 days a week we have meetings of all sort, and if anyone needs our meeting sheet, we have that on our Facebook page. But we have meetings that are in AA. We have an NA clubhouse, so specifically just for people that want to come to an NA meeting. It's a kind of a little more private area. We have a PAL meeting, which is parents of addicted loved ones, but it also, anyone could come to that. I always recommend it because it's Al-Anon based, so it's anyone that's supporting someone that is in active recovery or in active addiction. We do all kinds of fun events as well. So our next event, we'll have a Galentine's event. Then we have our Men of March, which is like a March Madness event for our men.
Cool.
And we're always doing something that it kind of brings everyone together, because you and I both know life is hard.
Right.
And so, you add a substance use disorder in there in that mix, and it makes it even harder. And mental health is a big issue as well. So fellowship and support is so important in anyone's life, but especially someone who's struggling. And so that's what we're there for, is to offer that support and that love and encouragement. We do interventions all the time. We've had several in the last few days where people come
Oh,
in and
wow.
we'll do interventions with them, and sometimes those go really great and sometimes they don't.
Mhm.
They go the way that sometimes the family member want them to, like
Right.
their loved one seeks help, and sometimes they just say, "I don't have a problem," and then we're back to square one with that person. And you just have to love them through it. We have a saying at Warm is, "We're gonna love you back to life."
Mm.
I'm not gonna love you to death. I'm gonna love you back to life.
That's good.
And so that's something that we kind of, stand by and follow.
So, how did you're not originally from Henderson, is that right?
No.
So tell me how you ended up here, and I mean, you're pretty heavily involved in what's a pretty challenging aspect of our community,
Sure.
but like you've said, like, really vital and really, valuable, but how did you get here, and how did you get involved in all this?
So, a few years back, I went through a divorce and I moved to Henderson, brought my kids up here, and put them in the school system because I knew I was being drawn to Henderson. Their school systems are phenomenal. They're some of the best in the state of Kentucky. And so I was like, well, why not? We live so close. I didn't want to move so far away from family.
Right, right.
So I moved to Henderson. I started teaching. I was teaching in a middle school, and I was experiencing burnout, as teachers do.
Mhm.
And I started looking for other employment. And Nicole Frield's my boss. She's the COO of Warm.
She's great, by the way.
She's fantastic.
You'll have to help me get her in that seat pretty soon.
Yes, I definitely will. Good luck though, because she's camera shy.
Oh, we can make something
Well, yeah, we'll make something happen there. But she recruited me basically. We were working together with a friend and a family member that needed some help. And man, I just fell in love with her, and
mm,
she just started saying, "You need to come work for me," and so I did. And that started just this really beautiful relationship with me and Nicole and other women that work at Warm, and Dale, of course. We
mhm.
love Dale. Um, but it also gave me a new passion for people that is sometimes considered a marginalized community.
Mhm.
It's like, well, we'll let them take care of that. And so I started beginning to understand it from a whole different perspective. As someone that's not in recovery, I got to see the beautiful aspects of recovery. I've been able to see some of the heartbreaking parts of it as well.
Yeah.
But cheering everyone along as far as like I'm like, I will be your biggest cheerleader in this walk, and we're gonna stay together on it. And so, it's been way more of a blessing to me. I mean, because Nicole will say all the time, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I got you here," and I'm like, man, I'm very thankful for this journey that you've brought me on because
Absolutely.
it's been super eye opening. I've had to educate myself in a lot of things, but I'm telling you, it's a huge blessing in my on my aspect of I've walked. I came into this and I'm a changed person for the better. They
Yeah.
really enhance my life. So,
Yeah, that's cool. It's really fascinating when you cross paths with someone, especially from a different walk of life. Having walked through the addiction thing is something that's not a part of everyone's story. It's
mm-mm.
also not part of my story. But I've had a privilege to meet several of the ladies from the Warm Center over
Mhm.
the years, and man, they're just. It's all I always walk away from an encounter with one of them better off, I think.
Yeah.
And just hearing their stories and their tenacity and their just willingness to kind of take life by the horns sometimes, and it's really fascinating, but super valuable when you can have those encounters, cross paths with people like that you can learn something from their story. So you you started with the Stop Project.
hmm
How long ago? A few years ago now.
Well, so it's kind of all one and the same. So
Okay.
my office is at the Resource Club, and so I do all of the sober events and outreach, marketing, things like that. Like I do a lot of their digital stuff
Hmm.
and produce a lot of content, and just basically a lot of it's educating
Right.
through social media. The Stop Project has been in existence since before I came along.
Okay.
They started that a few years ago. There was a huge overdose event that
Hmm.
happened in Henderson. I think there was like 17 overdoses in like a 24-hour period.
Wow.
Some resulted in death, some did not, which thankful, because some of those people that had some of those overdoses are pretty powerful now. Their stories are amazing.
Yeah, I've been able to hear some of those.
Yeah. So out of that, Nicole, Nicole is a problem solver. She's like one,
Mhm.
she saw a problem and she was like, we've got to do something about this. And so out of that, she created the STOP Project, which stands for Stop the Overdose Project.
Okay.
And so when I came on, harm reduction was already starting to be talked about quite a bit, Narcan and education. She had already started a program that was going into the high schools and teaching, and then in some businesses. Pittsburgh Tank and Tower has been a really great partner for us because they love for us to come in and educate their
Mhm.
staff on overdose because they're on the road quite a bit and they see a lot. So we started with that, and then when I came along, I was like, we're not hitting all of our people that we can hit.
Right.
So we started a parent program that we did parent education nights. We go in and we do like professional development with the teachers and the counselors, and the school's been a really great partner for that as well. Henderson County Schools has like grabbed hold of it and just ran with it. So they have us doing some PDs in the summer with their staff. They've allowed us to teach freshman health classes
Mm,
every
cool.
semester, so we're making all those touches in the high school. I came in and wrote the program for the middle schools, so now we're in both middle schools teaching.
Wow.
We're doing Holy Name as well. And then this year, which has been a really great program, we have something called Healthy Heroes through the STOP initiative. And it's where we're going in and talking to our fourth and fifth graders. And we've launched that at A.B. Chandler as well as Ben Gate Elementary Schools. And the teachers, the principals, the kids have just really loved the program. They're giving us feedback and helping us kind of,
Mhm.
alter some of the program to make sure that we're educating the kids, getting them excited about making healthy choices. And it's not just about drugs, it's also about how do you become a better friend? How do you,
That's cool.
how are you, can you be healthy around social media? Because, fourth and fifth graders, they have phones. And so
Mhm.
teaching them about that, how to be an upstander and how to just, make those healthy choices so that we all have hopes and dreams for ourselves, but sometimes life gets in the way.
Right.
And so teaching them those mechanisms early is hopefully going to make a huge difference with our youth.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's interesting to me that that's a conversation that we are now starting in 4th and 5th grade,
Mhm.
I think that's a good thing, but it's just also, like, it's a little scary.
Yeah.
I have a kindergartner, and a couple below kindergarten still, but I'm grateful to have people that are educated and that know what they're talking about who can have some of those conversations. Have you seen as you've been in the schools, high school, middle school, now in 4th and 5th grade in elementary schools, have you seen those conversations have an impact on um, how some of those interactions have happened? Like, I mean, as far as addiction, uh, the kind of the epidemic of addiction in our community and beyond. Have you seen the tide start to shift on some of those things as you've been in those educational conversations?
Um, some.
Yeah.
And I will tell you though, the population really that I would love to just kind of talk with more and have these conversations like what we're having right
Hmm.
now is parents.
Okay.
And understanding we're seeing a whole generation of kids being raised by grandparents
Yeah.
and the parents are kind of in active addiction as well, or parents are not having those conversations early enough, and kids are
Yeah.
experimenting with other peers. And so we're just trying to have these conversations with kids as far as what is this, how do you keep yourself safe? And
Right.
just because you have a friend that says, here, try this, doesn't mean that they're being a good friend.
Yeah.
And so that's the conversation really that we're having in elementary school. But I really, my thing is trying to problem solve on how do I touch the parents? How do I get to the
Hmm.
parents? Um, because right now, what we're seeing and is parents coming to us and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't see this happening. And
Right.
now this is really out of control. Like, what do I do? And so that's definitely been on my radar for a
Sure.
while. But I think the earlier that you have conversations, the better. Because one of my mantras is, if you don't teach your kids, then somebody else is going to.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're seeing, and these kids, even fourth and fifth grade, they've already seen a whole lot at this age, or
Mhm.
they already know quite a bit, because they have phones and they have
Right.
computers, they have Chromebooks, and they're riding the bus and they're around kids that are saying things and seeing things, and they're seeing a lot more than we even realize. And teaching them how to how to find that safe adult that they can talk
Right.
to, because sometimes, let's just face it, some kids don't feel safe talking to their parents about certain things. So, who is a safe adult, and how do you identify that?
Yeah.
Um, there's so many layers that we
Right.
could talk about. This could
Absolutely.
be like a series that we could talk about, but,
I'm gonna have to have you come back on sometime.
yeah, yeah, and maybe we could do like a series on,
Sure.
parents and just having those conversations. But I feel like, in my heart of hearts, I truly believe that it's never too early to start having those conversations with
Hmm.
kids about things, in your language,
Right.
and keeping that safe passage with each other without judgment, because I feel like that that is one thing I see even with our adult clients is it's shameful to talk about some of the things that they've walked through
Hmm.
because someone else has told them it was shameful,
Yeah.
and to be able to learn how to love somebody through it so that they
Hmm.
can truly fully recover, because they've been through some really traumatic things,
Yeah.
um, and even young kids have been through some traumatic things, so they're just repeating history sometimes, and you can't blame them for that,
Yeah.
so, we're just trying to keep those conversations open, and, maybe I'm the only safe adult in the room, but I bring other clients with me so that they can see, here's
Sure.
some people that's been through it, and we're here to love you and not shame you and not try to scare you, but, just educate.
So what would be your, I mean, if we're here on camera right now,
Yeah.
what would be, your primary message for parents in Henderson? Just in terms of having those conversations, or if you just had the audience of those parents right now, what would be your number one message?
Ask questions even when they wanna shut you out. It's, um I'm not a perfect parent. I can promise you that. We have 6 kids. I mean, and
Yeah,
they've all done different things,
sure.
and they're all so different, and, but just, you know, um not al just making them, not making, because you can't make a kid do anything, but
Right.
just, helping them to realize that you're safe and that you're there to love on them no matter what. It's hard to not have a knee-jerk reaction when they've
Yeah.
done something, boneheaded, because 'cause you're just like, "Ah," just learning to be, take a breath, take a pa there's power in a pause,
Yeah, that's true.
power in the pause, and take a pause for a minute and then just say, "Okay, let's talk about it," and love them without judgment, because that's really what they want, they wanna be loved and seen and accepted, um, but, knowing who your kids' friends are, that's key,
Yeah.
and I'm not a helicopter parent, but I know what's going on in my kid's life because I
Hmm.
ask 8,000 questions. Even when they're like, "Oh," I
Right.
still go for it because it's so important, and it's important to educate yourself on what's out there, even if it's scary. It's still, and always having a plan.
Yeah.
You fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's always been a thing I've stood by too. So always having a plan.
Do you all have resources for, just for parents just to know what is out there? In terms of like, I'm a parent of a kindergartner, but I don't. I feel like I'm maybe woefully uninformed on certain things.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere that I could go to find some of that stuff out?
Not yet.
Okay.
And I'm working on that because we've had some presentations that we've done that have kind of, we've had some good turnouts.
Hmm.
They weren't great, and I really wish that we'd had more of that. But I would love to see. I'd love to figure out how to do that. Maybe there's so many podcasts out there that you could probably listen to
Yeah.
and see, but there's nothing locally homegrown, so to speak, to tell you what's there.
Gotcha.
But I always say, reach out and ask me if you have
Yeah.
questions. Heck, I'm an open book. I'll tell people, anything that they need to know. I've done a lot of research on what is available in this area and what kids can get their hands on that we may not even think about. Because there's things at the gas station that we may not even realize that they're bad for them,
Mm.
and they're available to your 15 and 16-year-old
Oh, wow.
kids. That it it can become a problem.
Yeah.
So
So in the field that you're in, addiction recovery, addiction intervention, I think it's probably easy to see a lot of the negative,
Mhm.
because, like, oh, there's relapse, there's, I mean, heaven forbid, there's, fatalities in terms of
Mhm.
overdose and things like that. But amidst all of what could potentially be just so much negativity, there's also, as I've had the opportunity, and you've referenced a handful as well, there's always these like shimmers or of hope,
Mhm.
these silver linings, these beautiful stories that we hear of people on the other side that have gotten things figured out. What gives you the most hope right now in Henderson as you've seen a lot of the bad, but you've also been a part of a lot of, like the future is it's we're coming for this future, and
Mhm.
what gives you hope in the midst of all this?
Oh, there's so many things. Like, one, I think the thing that gave me the most hope whenever I first started the job is
Hmm.
is I started seeing these women recover and getting their life back. And
Yeah.
they talk about promises. These are the promises that I'm starting to see come true. Like, and maybe it's getting their kids back and being reunited with their family that they hadn't talked to in years because
Yeah.
they were, out in the madness. I get to see that, and I get to celebrate that with these women and even the men at Mark. And we just opened up a co-ed treatment center in Litchfield. It's called
Oh,
Lark.
wow.
And so, to see that growth and to see one of our programs be the best in the state, people are looking at what we're doing. And so we're doing some really great things. Um, but I'm telling you, our clients are putting in the work.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work. I mean, you think about it. You went to camp when you were growing up. I used to go to 4-H
Hmm.
camp and church camp, and all that kind of stuff. And by the end of the week, I was like, I'm ready to go home.
Yeah.
You know, these women and men are in our program for a minimum of 6 months, and
Wow.
it's like they're with this group of people. You can imagine how annoying people can be after you've been, you know,
Absolutely.
and they have to learn to one, control themselves. It's a peer run program, so they're all holding each other accountable. And it's hard sometimes to hear about yourself. So they're putting in some big work. So if you see any of our clients out trudging, and trudging is part of the program, it's a trudging program, it's a peer run program. If you see them out walking, give them some encouragement and love on them because they're doing they're doing the most right now to hold it
Yeah.
together because like I said, they're dealing with their trauma. They're dealing with their disease. And then they're learning a whole lot about themselves that sometimes isn't so great, you
Yeah.
know? Because sometimes when you meet yourself in the mirror, you're like, ugh, I didn't really like that so much. And
Right.
they get a lot of that. So, any positivity that you can throw their way is fantastic. But, I get to work with some really phenomenal people that have gone through the program and have graduated, and now I get to work with them. And that to me is like, they're some of the best friends I've ever had,
Yeah.
you know? Um, and so those are some great things. And also our school programs have been so great to see those kids, to see them get it. And
Hmm.
then when you walk in and they're like, they know who you are,
Right.
and that's fun because they know that you're there to encourage them and
Yeah.
to teach them something that's going to help keep them healthy. So there's so many things I could go on and on about the positivity that's there, but I'm telling you when I say this, in Henderson County, you have the best of the best at Warm, and they're there to serve anyone that comes to their door.
Yeah.
Now they're not going to be aggressive and push recovery on anyone, but if you need help or if you know someone that's struggling, they're there to love them back to life
Yeah.
and no judgment whatsoever. Just help them, and those are some of the beautiful things I get to see on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's so cool, and I'm 100% sure that I'm biased. Otherwise, I wouldn't be hosting the For Henderson podcast. But
Yeah.
to hear that we have this like top tier program in Henderson is not that surprising to me because I love Henderson and I think that we do a lot of things very well. But it is really encouraging to see that we're investing in that, and what could potentially be considered a marginalized population of adults or even teenagers in recovery or in active addiction. I love that we have a resource like the Warm Center and connections with like the Mark Center in Bowling Green and did you say the Lark?
Lark, yeah.
What does that one stand for?
Um, Litchfield,
Oh, Litchfield.
yeah,
Okay,
Litchfield Addiction Recovery Campus, because
gotcha.
they didn't have like a co-ed name for
Right,
it, I
right, right.
guess.
We've got Men's Addiction Recovery is Mark Center, right, in
Yeah,
Bowling Green.
Men's Addiction Recovery Campus, and
Okay,
then is our Bowling Green campus, and then Lark is Litchfield Addiction Recovery Campus, and then we have Women's Addiction Recovery Manor. That's what
gotcha.
WARM stands for. Yep.
Gotcha. Cool. So I think that I've heard the answer to this before, but I'm not sure everyone has, and I may need a little bit of a refresher. What is the benefit or the purpose of the program, including so much walking around town? I know that I'll see women walking around and it's freezing or it's burning up hot, and I know that they're not allowed to ride with. I can't
Men,
pick them up.
no.
Um, what's explain that to us?
When they say it's a trudging program, there's a
Hmm.
saying that, and that is said that though I trudge to and fro, and so what the whole purpose of the program is that it teaches them discipline,
Hmm.
it teaches them humbleness, because you have to humble yourself by walking from one place to the
Sure.
next. It's 2 miles, so I don't know if everybody realizes that it's a lot of walking. It's a
From
lot of walking
from where to where? From the clubhouse
from the clubhouse um,
to the warm center?
to the warm center, and they have to. And now we don't make them walk in 8,000 degrees
Sure.
or freezing cold. Like we have a little compassion there.
Right.
But part of that program is it's humbleness. And it's kind of a like they would walk anywhere to go get their drug of choice
Right.
or go through the depths of whatever it is to
Yeah.
get what it was that was that fit, that their fix, so to speak,
Mhm.
but for lack of better words. Um, but that's what it's designed to do is to just teach that humbleness that we're walking with a purpose.
Yeah.
We're walking from the campus to a trudge class where they're learning, and they after they're finished learning, and it's very regimented. It's time stamped. Like they can only leave at a certain time. They have
Mm.
to walk it in a certain amount of time. And we have some that are non-trudgers, which they get card, they get a card to take them there. But it's very purposeful, to go there to learn about themselves, and then they have to trudge back, and then they have to trudge with a partner. They can't go alone. So there's several different things behind that.
Just like discipline, accountability,
Mhm.
and I think that some of those things, while difficult, probably,
Mhm.
uh, I think some of those things are a large reason for the success of the program.
Oh, for sure.
And seeing the success rate that of women entering into like a sustained recovery, which is really really cool.
A little shout out too, just so you know our statistic, 75% of our clients that graduate our program are clean and sober 1 year later.
Wow.
And that's a huge percentage.
Yeah.
So that's a really great testimony for what we do. And you've got it right here in Henderson. I
Yeah.
mean, this is like, and we have people that come from all over, of course, but I mean, someone comes, we will find a place for them. If
Yeah.
they're coming and they want treatment, we're helping them find a bed.
75%
Mhm.
sober a year later. That's pretty. And do you know the statistic for what would be like a national average on that?
I don't. That's a good question. I probably should find that out, but I will find now that you asked me that question, guess what I'm gonna go do?
We're gonna find
Yeah,
out.
I'm gonna
Hey,
find out.
if you find out before this goes live, then let me know. I'll put it in the show notes
I
so
will.
people can
Yeah,
find
I
it.
will.
So one of the questions that I want to close every episode with, and I'm hoping that this will just be a running definition of what it looks like in our community. When you think of the idea of being for Henderson, what does that mean to you, Carrie?
Oh, being for Henderson is just, when I moved here, I was an outsider.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like just being that welcoming, loving, accepting community, no matter where you came from, no matter what walk of life where what you look like, what kind of, socioeconomic you have, none of that. It doesn't matter that we're for you, we love you, we want the best for you. And that's what I feel like a For Henderson looks like to me is that, we're going to cheer you on and hope for the best for success for you, and not give up on you.
Yeah.
You know, you're not discardable. We're gonna love you through whatever it is, and that's what I feel like, Fort Henderson is.
That's a cool definition. You said when you first moved to Henderson, you were just kind of drawn to the community here.
Mhm.
What is it? Could you put words around that? Like, what was it that drew you?
That um, I was already kind of in a low place anyway, mentally, just like
Hmm.
kind of like a whoop puppy dog, and so it was just kind of like one of those things, like when I got hired in Henderson County Schools, for instance, it was a we see the talent that you don't see yet, and we're gonna stick with you and pull that out of you until you see it yourself. And so it took a good year. My principal at the time was Ryan Rush, and shout out to Ryan because, he saw something in me when I interviewed that I didn't see in myself at first. And so, he really pushed me and taught me a lot of lessons about myself that I was able to have that confidence and like really step into some of those
Hmm.
gifts and talents that I had that I didn't realize I had at the time. And so, it's kind of, I feel like that's why I feel like that definition of For Henderson, what that is because I feel like anyone could move to our community right now and we're going to help them find their their where they need to step into as
Yeah.
far as their gifts and talents. And so that's just my example of what happened for me.
Yeah.
And my kids went into the school systems, all new, and we were in 3 different schools at the time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so it was like it was a lot, and my kids were transitioning, and life was so different, for us when we moved here. But not one person ignored my kids.
Mm.
They saw, okay, we know you're struggling. We're gonna stay with you until we pull you along, and a lot of people stepped up to help me and help us transition into Henderson, and this is home. I mean,
Yeah.
this is our home.
Yeah.
And then I reconnected with my now husband that, we've known each other since we were kids, and he's from Henderson. So
Oh
now I'm
wow.
like, all right, yeah, this is Henderson's for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you want to share about your involvement with Henderson or your story or your family or anything? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, no, I feel like we covered so much,
Oh
and
yeah.
people are probably like, "Wow, we're just drinking from a fire hose here." But just like I said, just to kind of reiterate, if come by anytime to the recovery club. I mean, I'm telling you, it's like if you need a place just to sit and get a peaceful moment, come by. I mean, we don't
Yeah.
bug anybody. We just like, "Hey, how are you?" And if you just want to sit on the couch and hang, we're totally cool with that too. But just know that whether you're in recovery or you're not in recovery, or you love somebody that's in, active addiction, or just you love somebody that's really sick right now, come see us and we'll give you as much support as we can, or we'll just let you sit in peace as long as you need it. But it's a place for everyone to come, whether you're in recovery or not. Just come by and check it out for a hot cup of coffee. I mean, I make a really mean pot of coffee every single day. You can
Uh,
come by for, fresh pot and
yeah. I was about to mention last time I was in there, there was free coffee just sitting there.
yeah.
And that's almost enough to get me sometimes, and I will say, I will co-sign everything you just said. It's really pretty. It's really peaceful. There's like stained glass.
Yeah.
The light, the sunlight comes in through the stained glass. It's just a really, really cool spot.
Yeah.
That a lot of people may not even know about. And
No.
so, yeah, I would definitely highly encourage you to stop by, see what they do, find a cup of coffee and a place
Yeah.
to work on your computer or
Free
read a book.
Wi-Fi. I mean, what the
Wi-Fi.
heck? Yeah.
That's good. Well, Carrie, thanks so much for being on the podcast. Thanks so much for being for Henderson and doing everything that you're doing for our community. And maybe we'll have you back on sometime. We can talk more to parents and different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for being for Henderson. Because great cities don't just happen, they're built. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening, and let's keep building ours together.